ABATE, American Bikers Acting Towards Education, is...
What's happening, YouTube? I am on my way over to the world famous Varsity Restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia. Coincidentally, the world's largest drive-in restaurant, I believe, or something like that. But I am coming up here to meet with the director of ABATE of Georgia, and he's gonna tell us more about ABATE and fill us in on what they've been up to and what they're up to next. So without further ado, wow, has there actually been any previous ado? I don't remember any do you? Okay, enough of that silliness. Here it is, my interview with Ned Williams of ABATE of Georgia. Okay, I'm here with Ned Williams from ABATE, and some of you may have seen the interview I did a couple years ago at the International Motorcycle Show.
The Great American Bike Show.
Great American, is that the name of it?
Yeah,
now?
the one in Norcross.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. If you hadn't been to one of those, go check it out. It's worth it to see all the multitude of different kinds of bikes there are out there. It's fun. But anyway, here's a link to that video. We'll see how that works in posting. So okay, let's get started. Tell us a little bit about ABATE and what you guys do.
Okay, so for those that don't know, if you're under a rock, I guess, ABATE, American Bikers Acting Towards Education, is Georgia's motorcycle rights organization. That means we fight for legislation, we fight against legislation if it's anti-motorcycle, and obviously for legislation that's for motorcycles. We monitor the state of motorcycle education in the state of Georgia. We encourage education. We also do education in the schools to kids that are in driver education, just so that they can learn to identify motorcycles as vehicles and people. You know, before 5 years ago, there was zero motorcycle component to driver education in Georgia. We wonder why young drivers, even old drivers, act like they don't see motorcycles. It's because we don't teach people to see motorcycles in the state of Georgia.
You can't see if you don't look.
Right. I mean, so what we've been doing for the last 2 years is we've been injecting the MSF, and if you don't know the MSF, it means you didn't learn to ride your motorcycle correctly. But if the MSF, the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, has this thing called the Intersection Kit. And the Intersection Kit is nothing but a DVD and some class materials that you insert into driver education, right? And it's the basic stuff. Motorcycles look different than a car at certain speeds. Motorcycles are a smaller vehicle. They do a comparison. What does a truck look like at 35 miles an hour? What does a car look like? What does a motorcycle? And then the young driver sees that the vehicles, based off size, appear to be moving at different speeds. Everybody's going 35. That kind of basic initiation to what a motorcycle is.
A lot of people don't realize that a sport bike with two headlights on looks like a car that's far away. Because it just looks like the two headlights are close together because it's far away, and and they don't notice that until right after they've pulled out in front of you.
Think about it. When we talk about full fairing bikes, whether it be a multi-strada, yeah, that's a full fairing bike still, a Goldwing, any of the Harley electric glides, the FJR, my concourse people. The fact is that the wider a fairing is, the further apart the lights are, And if you get something like a concourse or an FJR, the average driver can't tell the difference between that motorcycle at, say, 500 yards and a Honda Civic at 1,000 yards.
Right.
And as a result of that, they always think you're further away than you are.
They pull right out in front of you.
Exactly. Remember, like the MSF says, the most common motorcycle car accident is a car making a left turn in front of your bike because they, quote, didn't see you.
Right.
So,
I always ride like I expect them to pull out. If they have the physical possibility of pulling out, I expect that they're going to, and I go ahead and plan my escape routes at every intersection.
Absolutely. You know, like, you know, safety tip, ding, right? Remember, like the EMS says, always watch their front wheel. If it's moving, they're going to pull out in front of you.
That's right. Okay, give us a post-mortem on 2014. What did you guys do with successes, failures, attempts?
Right. Well, 2014 was basically the first year in the last 2 years that ABATE was very aggressive legislatively. Last year, we focused on one potential law. We did, last year, in case everybody's wondering, I know our urban riders always ask the exact same question. When can we lane split? You can't. But lane filtering, which is splitting between red lights, we started that conversation last year in 2014. Now, those of you that follow ABATE, and especially those of you Georgia Motor riders, Terminus riders, you inner city riders, I know you guys, because you talk to me and you say, when can we lane split? This year, we had a sample bill. That means we had language. We just had to hand it to the person and say, please make this a law. But we have a thing with filtering that basically, the thing is that you urban riders, and that means everybody from the varsity here all the way to Brookhaven is considered an urban rider, okay? You're all represented by Democrats. Democrats don't control the majority in the General Assembly. That means any bill they sponsor doesn't have a Republican agreeing with them, it's not going to go anywhere. And that's what we had this year. We had a inner city representative who's a rider. She rides a Gixxer. And she was totally on board with us, but she told us flat out, no Republican co-sponsor, I can't sponsor your bill. So I know that was jumping into 2015 a little bit, but that's 2 years of effort. And if you riders want to be able to filter, you need to get on your phones, your smartphones, send an email, get on your regular phone, use it as a phone. Do you still use your computer? Great, send an email. Find your Republicans that ride. I'll tell you a little hint right now. We've identified 28.
Is there a place we can get a list of those?
There is no official list yet because we are literally manning phones and calling them saying, do you ride? If you watched Senate Bill 76, you know, because that was online, live, you could watch that this week. 2 senators stood straight up and said, we ride motorcycles. Actually, 3 of them ride motorcycles, but only 2 of them said it, right? But yeah, you want 3 senators, Senator Jackson, Senator Lucas, and the 3rd senator, I can't remember his name, but he's in the ABATE legislative email. He's on the ABATE Facebook page. If you've seen that, we identified them. They all said, we ride. In fact, Senator Lucas stood up and said, I'm pretty sure only 2 of us in this whole room ride motorcycles. So
it seems crazy that in a state that has virtually a 12-month riding season, that there are not more people who ride that represent us in our government.
It's absolutely crazy. In 2013, we sent letters to every single senator and every single representative. We asked them 5 questions, right? Do you ride? Have you ever ridden before? Right? Because you got a lot of people, you know, that they get the knee injury, they get the hip injury, and they quit riding. They hang the bike up. Personally, if you got a knee or hip injury, get a trike. But we want to know who those people are, right? Because once you're a rider, you understand what it means to be a rider.
Right.
You know, we asked them, are you a lawyer? Because lawyers always have a vested interest in the law. Do you work in the insurance industry? And that's a semi-loaded question because the insurance industry is the chief opponent of every single motorcyclist in the state of Georgia.
Right. And it seems like, especially with the lane filtering, since every study comes back saying, hey, look, it's safer.
Yeah.
Because motorcyclists don't die when somebody opens their door into you and make you fall over. What causes you to die is when the Susie soccer mom slams into the rear of your bike because she's talking on her phone.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's what you can avoid with the lane filtering and lane splitting a little bit. You know, now obviously lane splitting can be done in a ridiculous manner.
Yes.
And we may have to pause for a second for audio. we have a very happy child. Okay, I think the audio might work a little bit better now.
Our audience is gone now.
Yeah. So anyway, we were talking about lane filtering, lane splitting, and there's a responsible way to do it, and there's an irresponsible way to do it. Unfortunately, the irresponsible ones are the ones who usually get the attention.
Well, and you know, in the world of vlogging, we have the best examples of responsible filtering in Premises 187, Baron, Royal Jordanian, the proverbial diplomat of motorcyclists. These guys...
All the new Australian vloggers who are now finally able to legally split.
Sure. I mean, hey, Pete, you want to give us your opinion? Become a vlogger again and tell us what you think. So, anyways, let's see how that goes. But, I mean, in London, they very responsibly filter every single day of every single year. Now, the other side of that, right? For those of you on social media, you probably saw a red and white CBR 600 go about 85 miles an hour between lane 1 and lane 2 on Georgia 400 a couple of months ago, because everybody in Georgia saw it. What that guy did was dangerous, and it was illegal. There was no way to justify that as being safe behavior on a motorcycle in any fashion. You know, nobody does that.
But that's the one who gets attention.
Correct.
Those of us who are safely, responsibly filtering through it, we don't get any attention, we don't get on the news. The one that gets on the news is the one who's crazy, going flying through everybody and then eventually wrecks.
It's the attitudes in motorcycling, you know?
Right, that's one of the things that would have to change for lane filtering to be accepted, is that there would have to be an education campaign to change people's minds, because 9 out of 10 car drivers will instantly say, no, lane filter, that's dangerous, even though the opposite is really true. But there is a dangerous way to filter, and that's demonstrated by jackass on the CBR going down
absolutely right
80 miles an hour between traffic. That's just not good.
You know, and at the same time, you can very responsibly show how to responsibly filter. Or should I say, you could if it was legal. Marietta Street, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, between, say, Spring and 5 Points, that quarter-mile stretch right there, there's 4 red lights, and it will take you 25 minutes to get across all 4 red lights.
Right, and you know, let's be real, motorcycles, even a 50cc scooter takes off faster than most cars from the light, just because it's power-to-weight ratio, people. You know, come on. But,
seriously, guys, seriously.
But okay, besides lane filtering, which is definitely a subject close to my heart, what other legislation have you guys worked on last year or working on? I know trying to split it up between 2014 and 2015, probably not easy, because it all flows from one year to the next, and you build momentum on things.
Well, the big bill last year and this year has been what a lot of people refer to as a red light relief bill, right? Which is, and this isn't something new, guys. We've got 16 states right now have this law. But red light relief basically means if you and your motorcycle come to a red light and it doesn't detect your motorcycle, either because it's broken or because an engineer was lazy and he didn't adjust it to detect a vehicle of the size of your motorcycle. And that's the important thing when we talk about red lights, guys. Red lights don't pick up your weight of your motorcycle. They pick up the magnetic response of your motorcycle.
The loop in the ground is setting up a magnetic field, and it senses whether you've disturbed that magnetic field.
And depending on how low or high they have a dial picked up or set, your motorcycle, depending on how much of a response it gives that magnet. And to the state senator that said it doesn't matter whether it's ferrous or non-ferrous metal, with respect, Senator, yes it does.
Science!
An iron Harley-Davidson has a bigger magnetic signal than an aluminum Ducati. Sorry. Basic math. Well, not math. Physics. Sorry, there we go. Yeah.
There's math involved in physics.
S-M-A-R-T smart. Anyways. But, yeah, so the red light issue has been ABATE's chief issue for at least the last 7 years. A lot of people know us as the helmet people, and that's because the majority of ABATE members are cruiser riders, and the reason that is because The majority of people who worry about legislation are cruiser riders. If people want to change that stereotype, if laws matter to you and you ride a Panigale, or you ride a Monster, or you ride, I know I'm Italian. Okay, you ride an 1190 RS.
You might ride an R1 or an R6.
Exactly.
So,
Correct. You can ride an old school Interceptor, right? But you can get involved.
That is one thing I noticed is a lot of the ABATE events, the cruisers are very well represented, lots and lots of cruisers. Not enough of us sport bike guys. We need to get out and flex our rights and fight for our rights, because we're all when it comes down to it, we're all on two wheels, and
Sure.
this affects all of us.
And the red lights we're talking about, when we talk about the situation where the light is maladjusted, that situation affects the sport bikes more.
Right,
than
yeah,
it affects, a 900-pound bagger with every accessory in the world on it,
Especially those of us with aluminum engines that hang from a metal frame, that the frame is way up high anyway, so
Sure.
you're not going to break that magnetic field if its sensitivity
You're talking
is
a
low.
fucking BMW sport adventure
Yeah.
bike with as much clearance as a Jeep.
Yeah.
That thing is nowhere near the sensor.
Or even a Ducati Monster, because the frame is up top, everything hangs from that.
Absolutely.
And so it doesn't trigger it as much. So, well, what factors would you say affect your legislative success rate? Like what
Involvement. Motorcyclists only respond when they feel threatened politically. 3 years ago, Georgia, in one of the dumbest moves ever, decided to institute these things called motorcycle-only checkpoints.
Right, and that was a chase for federal money, right? Because I believe they
Exactly.
did it in New York State as well.
New York started it, and then Georgia was number 2. New York didn't get the federal money. Georgia did. And the idea is they would show how effective this use of a certain amount of federal money was, and then they'd get more federal money. Now, us at ABATE, when you take one group of citizens and you say, we're going to treat you different than this other group of citizens, and we're the government, we call that a constitutional violation.
Sure.
And we told everybody. But motorcyclists, believe it or not, didn't do anything until the first checkpoint happened. And when that first checkpoint happened, well, then everybody called ABATE. And then we told them what to say, and then mysteriously 26,000 people called the governor and said, stop this.
It's the whole squeaky wheel gets the grease
Exactly.
theory. So that'd be more rider involvement would help ABATE help riders.
And that's the bottom line. Right
So-
now, the SB 76, Senate Bill 76, which is this year's red light bill, it passed through the Senate Wednesday afternoon. 51 votes for, 4 against. Okay, so that's a strongly positive vote. And that happened because motorcyclists stood up and called their senators.
See, I was under the impression that this law had already passed, and I don't know where that came from or why. Did it pass one of the houses last year or
Nope.
something? So it was.
Now
It was just being introduced, maybe, is what it was.
last year it was introduced as House Bill 869 in the House, and it got out of its first committee and died in its second committee. This year we introduced a version in the House and in the Senate. The version in the House died today, actually. Today is what's called crossover day, and this is the magic day where a bill passed in the House goes to the Senate, and a bill passed in the Senate goes to the House. Today, the bill that passed in the Senate on Wednesday went to the House. The bill that didn't pass in the House didn't go to the Senate, a la crossover day. But yet, no bill to this effect has ever passed either House or Senate chamber, as we call it, in the state of Georgia. So that's why this vote Wednesday was such a tremendous deal for Georgia motorcyclists.
Okay, so that's a good victory. So then, so how can motorcyclists and more of us sport bike riders get involved with ABATE and make sure that our concerns are heard right along with everybody else?
Well, the easiest way to do it, you don't even have to give us any money, is you can just go like the ABATE Facebook page, ABATE of Georgia, like it, you can get in the conversation.
Again, links right here.
Right? The next easiest way is you can join us, which you can also do on the ABATE Facebook page. As a member, your number counts. Yeah, there's a membership fee, but I promise you that fee literally pays for the pin and the patch we send you, because people that ride like to put patches on their vest. And it pays to keep the lights on at our office. That's all it does. We don't take any more money than we have to.
We might have to set you up with some stickers because sport bike riders like stickers.
Yeah, and you know what? We gave away 2,000 stickers last year.
Nice.
Bumper stickers, obviously, but little bike-size stickers, we haven't pulled that one off yet.
Well, maybe we can set something like that up. But hey, it was cool. Thanks for talking to me, and hope you guys learn more about what ABATE does, and maybe you're even inspired to get active and get involved and get things rolling for us motorcyclists.
Yeah, please, guys. Right now is crucial. If you're watching Tommy's video and you're in the state of Georgia, that means you've got a House of Representative member in the Georgia House. Find out who they are. We'll give you a link. You can go to Google and you can type Georgia Secretary of State NVP page. That's your My Voter page. And you can go to that and it'll tell you exactly who your state House member is and your state Senate member is. Call that state House member and say you want yes on SB 76, Senate Bill 76. Vote yes.
All right. Make noise, be represented. Thanks a lot.
I got a little wiggle towards the top of that, hitting some sand. A little butt pucker moment, that little, oh shit.